Ladies and gentlemen, at 6:30 p.m. on Saturday, the Aggies and the Irish are going to square up once more to see who is up against it the most, to see who can overcome the breaks and find that Gipper buried within. I know where I'll be then. I wish it was in South Bend. It won't be, but I'll be happy. And watching my Ags, I'll be happy. So it's Catholics versus Cultists 2.0. Last year, the Irish went inside, they went outside, inside and outside. They tried to get us on the run and keep us on the run. They didn't stop until they got across that goal line. And this year, they say this is a good team. But maybe the Ags are better. Can they lick us again? Howdy. Welcome to the Aggie Central podcast. I'm your host, Central. Other than having fun with intros and taking a few jabs, I like giving reviews that would make the opposition's beat writers jealous. At least that's the goal. So here's the deal, Golden Domers. Welcome to the channel. I don't ask for subs, especially not from those that will only be here for a week. So if the preview is something at least better than a national preview and hopefully approaches your local guy, then share this with your buddy. All you returners, best thing to do is like, comment, or share just if you want to get your algo tuned in, okay? No subs, please. Thank you. So what do I have for you this week? Notre Dame team breakdown, their vulnerabilities, their strengths, my keys for each team to win, and of course, a prediction. So let's get to know your Notre Dame. It starts up top with C.J. Carr. He's a freshman quarterback for Notre Dame. First game versus Miami 2 weeks ago, not last week. They have been on a bye, right? First game versus Miami, he went 19 of 30 for 221 at a 63% completion clip. He gave them 2 TDs and 1 IT plus another 16 timely and hard-fought yards with his legs, okay? Now, we can't go much further than that because it starts up top, but this offense runs with the running backs. Jeremiah Love versus Miami, 10 carries, 33 yards. I can't do it anymore. That's a head scratcher. Everybody knows it's a head scratcher. Freeman's going to be working on that this week. I wanted to give you a little bit more on this guy. It's coming later, okay? 2024, just to give you a little picture. 163 carries for this guy, 1,100 yards, and he goes 33 on the first game. Okay. Not on schedule, not like he wants to be. He did a 6.9 average last year, 17 TDs, 0 TDs against Miami, okay? He has the speed to break one to the house. He is their best running back. But Jadarian Price is not much further behind. 120 carries for 746 yards in 2024. Good for 6.2 yards per carry. Versus Miami, though, 6 carries, 45 yards, 7.5 average. Average is fine. Carries, iffy. Yardage, iffy. Everybody's just kind of wondering around the team, do they have a real running game? C.J. Carr added 16 yards, but with Love's not 33 and Price's 45. Well, I mean, we're not even at 100. So they were built on a running game last year, built on it, especially with Leonard Riley there. And they're going to need to revive that if they want this season to go the way they want this season. So let me give you a few more things about their offense before we transfer on over to defense. Because the running backs is definitely leaving us a bit of a head scratcher. They're 124th best rushing attack so far this year. Some perspective, they were 19th overall in 2024. So why the drop off? Why the drop off? That's the big question for these guys right now. I'll give you 2 options, okay? 2 options. Let me present them. You decide what you think is the deal. Either they dropped off, like so the O-line dropped off, something like that. Running backs are just not what they used to be, something tied directly to the running game, right? Or Miami's rush D is that good. Okay? Those are 2 main options that I see. So let me give you 2 more pieces of info. And then you take all this and you make the decision. Now, Miami gave up the same rushing total to Bethune in week 2 as they did to Notre Dame. Okay? Now, I get it. It is only one data point. But Bethune and Notre Dame essentially rushed for the same amount. I think it was 97 yards for Notre Dame, 96 for Bethune in back-to-back weeks against Miami. Okay? That sound like a stout defense to you, a stout rushing defense from that Miami team to you? Okay. So with that said, let's rotate on over. I want to share something with you. Here's the breakdown of the offensive line. This is their grades for week 1 for Notre Dame. Ashton Craig, center, graded out 83.2. The note on this was one of the few positive grades within the group. Billy Schroth, 61.1. It says a decent grade for pass blocking. From there, it's downhill. You got Emil Wagner, right tackle. I believe captain, right? I think along with Billy. And Emil was graded out 38.4. Note is very poor performance. Sullivan Absher, guard, 29.8, another low-performing player as they described it. Anthony Knapp, 12.98, drastically low grade. Styles Prescott, tackle, 10.5, extremely low performance. And Lambert, devastatingly low grade at 2.4. This is what I think it's PFF graded this. This is not what they want to be hearing. So that's the information, y'all. That's the information. I mean, that's like shots fired. That's like you're hearing this kind of stuff about the O line. It's got your Irish doing, I mean, okay. So I feel like I just took a bad shot at you. I feel like I've gone into the confessional with Leo in the confessional, and yeah, I've had to make some penance for these things that I've just said. But they're true. It's just where things are right now. It is only one game though. So take it as it is. It was against Miami. We're going to find out a lot more. This game means a whole lot for both of these teams either way. Last year, Notre Dame comes in, beats A&M, goes and loses to NIU, right, and then basically has to win out. Right now, this is the last ranked team on their schedule. I mean, they have USC later on down the road. They do play Arkansas. But other than that, I mean, there's not really a name, and there's nobody trying to make a name as it stands currently. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with the rest of this offense. For now, it looks like the wide receivers are going to have to hold it down. They might be capable of doing just that. The combination of Carr and what he can do with his feet might actually make for some production for this team. So you got Malachi Fields. He had 3 receptions, 48 yards, no TDs. He's a smart guy. He's 6'4", 223 pounds. He's a matchup nightmare at this point. So I will have my eye on this guy. He's really good from what I can tell at high point in the ball. And coupled that with CJ Carr, who's a pretty good, I would say, passer, especially when he's in the pocket, knows how to throw the ball, has got some really nice accuracy on him. And I would even say kind of smarts when it comes to putting the ball where it needs to be. Sometimes you watch a quarterback throw one, you're like, why didn't you put that higher? I know I've thought that once or twice this year already from Reed, but he does that, and he does it pretty well from what I can tell. Malachi Fields would be just the guy for that to take place, okay? You also got Eli Raridan, 5 receptions, 97 yards against Miami. He was their top receiver. Not typical from what I understand of this team, but he put up a 19.4 yard average. No TDs from this guy, right? They're looking for a few other guys to have made these differences, but nonetheless, this is where they came from. To add to that, the lesser guys, Jordan Faison and Micah Gilbert, both capable, but not their go-tos, right? Both of them, though, had a TD in this game. So what I'm going to tell you off of this from what I've seen, I've watched this game through and through, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. Be careful in the red zone. Aggie's going to have to be real careful in the red zone. These 2 guys, Faison and Gilbert, very shifty guys, very unassuming guys that they're probably, well, actually, we'll go back to, let me just go ahead and throw one more name out there real quick. Greathouse, who was absolutely absent in the first game. Malachi Fields, these are the eye candy. That's the eye candy. These other 2 guys, while the distraction's happening, they're doing the work and they're getting the TDs. So really something to watch out for is when we're defending close to the goal line, especially in the red zone, you got to account for every single one of these wide receivers. They're all dangerous in their own way. You might not look at them and say, oh, yeah, talent everywhere. But role players are just as valuable. And that's what they definitely have, a good mix of talent and role players throughout this wide receiver group. So circle back real quick. In the first game so far this year, Notre Dame's got the 75th best passing attack. That was against what is currently the 40th best passing defense in Miami. Okay. For reference, in 2024, Miami was the 57th overall passing D. Okay. Now stay with me. Let me connect these dots. Okay. So if you took their pass D from last year, 2024, all right, and you look at who they played, Florida and Florida A&M in the first two games, Miami averaged 130 yards per game. So that's what they allowed. So that D through 2 weeks would currently be ranked 19th if you compared them to this year's numbers. So let me say that again. The 2024 Miami Pass D would have been ranked 19th through 2 weeks of this season, but then finished 57th after giving up totals to Louisiana, Duke, Iowa State, Syracuse, all down the stretch last year. So they started well, and then they digressed actually down the way. So that's just kind of to tell you, you have that connection now with how Miami actually does, right? So we connect the dots. Their pass D is now starting at 75th. They have the 75th rated pass D. Okay. And are they going to fall off from there? I mean, excuse me, I got my a little bit mixed up. They got the 75th best passing attack. Are they going to fall off from there? I mean, we'll see. It's an interesting question. It's just an interesting thought to see how things will play out, how they will mesh together. They've only got one game, so how they will play relative to last year is a big, big, big question mark. They're still trying to establish their identity. Transferring over to the defense. This is probably where they wanted to make their money, or at least where they thought they had the surest time. Okay, because they were so good last year on defense, at least starting off, right? Now, up front, the sack leader was Barbacourt Traore, and he tallied their lone sack of, he had 1.5 sacks and half of their TFLs. So he had the one sack and half of their TFLs. They got Drake Bowen at linebacker, and he runs the D. He's also a captain, 8 tackles against Miami, just behind Stroman. Now, he wasn't the leading tackler, but this guy leads the defense. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. From DB, DB is supposed to be their strength. DB is where they really pressed us last year. We couldn't get much separation last year. We really had a tough time throwing the ball. Couple that with Wiegman probably being hurt, definitely not throwing accurately, looking a lot like Arch Manning to this point through his first game, and it just made for a really tough matchup. Their DBs are elite from, let's say, history told. Last year they were. Will they be again this year? I don't know. I think they leave a few things to be desired, and I'll tell you why. Let's go through this. They did have 3 passes defended, so pretty good number. 2 by Christian Gray. The other one was by a defensive lineman, so really doesn't quite count. That would lower their total, which was not great, or their ranking, which was not great within the country. But Christian Gray, a guy who I think they really want to lean on, showed some vulnerability. Maybe he can be exploited in this game. He was late on a number of plays where the wide receiver did a hard plant. Now, we're talking about a whip route here, right? So you're going to break inside, and then you were going to plant hard, run it back outside. He bit a few times. He had bad leverage, and his recovery speed, honestly, I mean, it just wasn't there. So it's tough when you're up against elite speed. I think Miami came with that elite speed, came with that elite agility, and it presented a pretty significant problem, especially if you're not dialed in focused. And he did seem like he was in this particular game. So again, from the tape, the quickness doesn't look like it's there, especially not to be able to recover. And there you have it. You get a few completions. It's not many, but it's like 2 or 3. It's enough to get you a few first downs, move the ball. And in a close game, 3 points, 6 points, even getting a touchdown off something like that could definitely be the difference. Definitely. The other guy I want to mention is Jalen Stroman. He did lead the team with 9 tackles from the safety position. 6 of those were solo. And really, this guy he's a physical dude. He's a physical dude, looks pretty sure-handed, which is saying a lot for a defense that actually struggled quite significantly tackling. It was definitely a big deal that Freeman wants to work on. You could tell the frustration that he had during his press conference previewing the A&M matchup this week. Tackling is something he is dialed in on. And it's interesting. He didn't say that the tackling was difficult in space. Now, for you Irish out there, A&M's had some trouble with this in space, especially from our safety position. And I've got a theory on that. But I think it says a lot if you're able to tackle in space. Stroman seems like he can tackle in space, but he's really, really physical. It probably helps him that if he gets up into the box quick enough, he can get to those tackles. And being a physical guy, he doesn't mind making the contact. He's not trying to go low, and that probably serves him a little bit better. He can't really be like dodged and juked out as easily. So, yeah, tackling. They have the same troubles as we do at this point, just a little bit differently, and they haven't given up as many big plays. You Irish listening out there, this is a situation for us. We've given up a lot of big plays here. If there's something that you can exploit on us missing tackles, us dropping our guard, letting a big one break, and it could be busted coverage too, but in the run game in particular, especially considering you've got, Price and Love, big opportunity for y'all, in my opinion. Big opportunity for y'all. If we don't stay focused, we don't play at our elite level that we can through this game, I expect something from that duo, definitely. Let's run through some defensive stats real quick. 84th overall in total defense versus the 42nd ranked offense in the first week. Notre Dame has the 75th best rushing D, 77th best passing D. I use the best lightly, and that's not a good number. That's not what anybody wants to hear about their defense. So again, I'm sorry. I will say 3 Hail Marys. Okay. Yeah. And Notre Dame, 75th best rush D, 77th best pass D. Yeah. You hear it again, it doesn't change, right? So Miami had the first ranked offense in 2024. So that's just something to kind of note where they're coming from, right? They were pretty good last year, and kind of thinking about what they were this year, and if they can continue on that, give you some relative idea about what Notre Dame was up against in week 1. Miami lost quite a few guys, so the thought is that they are not quite as good, and that's what I'm getting at here. Just kind of sharing you some of the context from 2024 about Miami is that there there's probably some sort of drop off taking place. You think about game 1, you look at some other matchups around the country, Ohio State, Texas, first week. We played y'all first week last year, and I don't think we got either one of these teams got their best effort out in any one of these games. So I think the same thing is probably true from the Notre Dame Miami game. So take everything that you get here with a grain of salt about Notre Dame, but also about Miami. So Miami could be getting better and or worse than any one of these, but I tend to think some of the things are going to obviously be worse for them. So um, let me run a few stats here that are just eye-popping real quick defensively. 124th in sacks is Notre Dame currently. They were 14th in 2024. Complete opposite. 127th in turnover margin, 5th in 2024. 136 out of 136 this year in tackles for loss. 27th last year in 2024. I mean, so you get this back and forth that's going on here, right? Really good in 2024, started off really awful in some of these really, really key areas. Will it hold? I don't know. We'll see. Conversely, they are 5th in tackles for loss allowed. So the defense is getting those tackles for loss. but in 2024 they were 93rd. I don't know what the deal is with the complete opposite situations happening with all of these, and it happens in a few other areas too. But this game ought to sort a lot of that out. I want to talk about vulnerabilities now for Notre Dame. As I've watched a lot of the tape, here's what I think the deal is. I think elite speed at wide receiver, elite agility is an opportunity to exploit on these on the Irish. There was plenty of time that there was separation, not just on Gray, but on others. And if you've got that speed and you get the protection, definitely some opportunities to exploit that secondary, which we think is supposed to be really, really good. Definitely think this is going to be either their coming out party or the wake up call that this team's not quite what it is. I'm hoping it's the latter, of course. Tackling, like I said, has been an issue. Freeman says the issues were in the box, not in space, like I was telling you about. He thinks that they need to get up in the gaps. They need to I don't think wrapping up is what he was trying to get at. Maybe it's just really finishing the play. There's a level of strain and effort I think he's wanting to get out of the guys. It seems like that he wasn't thinking he was getting all the way. Like, how many times are you willing to play at your absolute best? That's something that Elko has talked about a lot. I think Freeman's on to that. I'm not sure he's getting quite what he wants out of his guys at this point. Now they're good. They're very good, press man. But what I can also tell from the secondary that when they're in coverage, and if the coverage requires a little bit more creativity, a little bit more weaving, you get a bunch more bunch formation across a mesh, a pick, or they're having to play zone. They can't just cover and go. Things get a little bit more dicey, right? Even in some of the man when they're not like on you, pressing you, they've had their struggles. So I think if you've got elite wide receiver speed, then you can definitely do something with it. D line for Notre Dame, going back to Freeman's point, probably not playing as physical as Notre Dame wants them to play so far. I don't think they're happy with that play when they watch Miami. But I, I could be wrong about that. I am just complete armchair quarterbacking this whole thing. From the vibes I'm getting from everything I've watched, and I have tried to take in I've probably taken in 5 to 10 hours worth of their content over the last couple days, trying to understand what they really think about this team. That's the vibes I'm getting. Okay. Maybe some O-line diagnosis. I wouldn't make it a huge deal. There definitely seem to be some cracks in the O-line, some complete whiffs, even the centers letting a few go. You heard about the grades. There's definitely some issues there. Something's got to give. They're going to have to do some things drastically different to upgrade that, or I think we're going to have a pretty good opportunity from our defense. They're starting to come along. We've got Cassius Howell. You had the three well, let's just call it a turkey. Everybody was looking for a name for it. I like bowling. Let's go with turkey. He had 3 in a row sacks. Regis, Hicks, both man the middle. They're physical. They're playing hard. I mean, we got plenty of backups. Our linebackers are fantastic at filling gaps, in my opinion, at this point. Safeties have a little bit of work, and DBs have a tendency to fall off. But if they can get their O-line dialed in right, they can get the run game going, we'll see what they can do. But right now, it's a vulnerability. More than that, I'm kind of wondering how much of the playbook have they opened up to CJ Carr? Okay. He's a freshman quarterback. He's played one game. What does he know at this point? Does he know what he needs to know? Does he know enough? Have they allowed him to do that? Are they going to open it all the way up for him? Because to me, it looked like sometimes they became a bit too predictable on a few of their plays, and it was pretty. I mean, they had Miami had the interception right when CJ threw it over to the right side. It was kind of a little two-man bunch formation, I think, pop back, something like that. DBs were just all over it. So the tendency to get a little too predictable can be a problem. We'll see if we can exploit it, though. I'm not convinced that we will, but it's an area that, hey, with proper game planning and film study, maybe we can. Couple that though with Notre Dame has some tendencies also to overcommit in some obvious situations. Third and short, third and long, things can get a little predictable. Our defensive line is getting ramped up with the pass rush, so anything where they're being too predictable, um, overcommitting one way or the other, as they might do on defense, it will present some other opportunities. So when it's third and two and we've got the ball, they tend to really crash the offensive line pretty hard. It leaves a big opportunity for a tight end release, some sort of pop and pull, maybe even a little, not option, but pitch wide, get outside the tackle box, and who knows what. But screen game in play for sure, and just watch for it. If we can get them also into a coverage look, running running the ball down their throat would be ideal. I don't know if that's going to be an option. We'll see. Our running game has had its woes as well. So Notre Dame, just give you a few things going on with us. We haven't run the ball great. We have Le'Veon Moss. He's been good. He was great last year until he got hurt. Reuben Owens backs him up essentially at this point. Now, between these two guys, Le'Veon's the man. Okay? He's got the vision. He's got the patience. And those two things are probably the most important in my book. Reuben Owens, very talented, got the breakaway speed, can make a house call at any time. When it comes to pass protection, he's probably just a little bit off. He's got better hands, but protecting is an area we probably need some work on. The other two, Daniels, EJ Smith, hard runners. You should watch out for them. They can get you. I am not saying they are not a threat. They absolutely are. They just probably don't have as many tools as the other two, and especially not as compared to Moss. So, with that being said, let's rotate into some strengths. I'll still continue to give you some more ideas about what you're up against when you're playing A&M. Strengths for Notre Dame. Running game. Running game is a strength at this point still, in my opinion, mainly because when you watch the film, when they're in the spread, I think that's when they're most effective. Between Price and especially Love, you've got, like I said, very physical runners. When they can spread the defense out, they can get just 4 or 5 in the box, have the defenders kind of guessing where this is going to be going, and you don't have any options, for any missed assignments at that point. And then with the physicality that these guys have, the ability to break tackles that these guys have, I think that's when they're most effective. So watch out for the spread and run, and watch out for that Price Love combo. Okay, as Freeman says, sometimes you just got to hand it off. He was pretty adamant about that. CJ Carr is probably pulling it too often. He's probably making the right read. It's probably not the wrong read. But when you have guys like that, this might also explain why the running game was not what it needed to be. If you're not going to give it to your best players, what are you doing? So sometimes, in Freeman's opinion, you just got to let it go, CJ. Just let it go. Give it to Love. It doesn't matter what the end looks like. Now, is our end going to look like Miami's end? Is that an end you want to be doing that with? We'll leave that up to us to prove that or not prove that. So, what else? Strengths for Notre Dame. When they get the numbers they want, also in the running game, they're really dangerous. I think this is what I noticed most about when they were in the spread. When you get the numbers in the box and it's not the same, they can be really effective. And don't let Carr get outside the pocket. His legs are dangerous. I said he got 16 yards, but when you watch the game, it feels like a lot more. It feels like a lot more. And when he gets outside the pocket, he can make lanes to be able to throw it downfield. So he's dangerous on multiple fronts, and he can run it. He is unassumingly quick. So we thought Riley Leonard, was the runner last year, and I'm sure he is better. He can probably move laterally better than Carr can, but Carr is swift. Maybe reminds me a bit of a Tannehill runner or a Kellen Mond type of runner. Not going to go left or right on you a whole lot, but knows when to pull it down, knows when to run, will make one move on you and go. He's a good runner, and if we are not focused in, it's going to be an issue, and it has been for a number of years. We had issues with Sellers last year. Who else? Even Taylor Green at times. I think we did a pretty good job on Lagway when we did play them. Not a great job when we played, had Arch Manning back there. It was obvious run. So we'll see if we can break that issue up. So last thing, I'd probably mention for this on when it comes to strengths is the 50-50 balls. That's something I don't think we have, but I think they're going to need to lean on. I think it's something they can do to get the ball downfield when they maybe don't have a lot of time. Offensive lines having a lot of issues pass blocking, but if they can get at least one matchup and get the ball out, get a couple 50-50 balls, and there you go. It's at least more so a strength for them than it is for us and most other teams, I would say at this point. But again, one game is not a whole lot to base this particular thing on. But from the film, it looked like this was something that they might have been really working with through fall camp. Now, it has to be said for this game, Notre Dame's going to be hungry, especially after that loss to Miami. I mentioned it once before, but now I want to camp out on it a little bit more, especially when it comes to the keys to the game. A&M is the lone ranked opponent left on the schedule for Notre Dame. That's got to mean something. You've got to think that they know right now, if we don't win this game, college football playoff is in jeopardy. At minimum, it might mean you're out. They'd probably have to go through and win really, really convincingly. You don't have a conference championship to make an extra, case for you. So what are you going to do? Do you think they know that they have to win this game? Is this like their Super Bowl game, week 3 for them? It might be, and that's a good place to be for them. You want that kind of motivation. You want to be able to see that right there in front of you. So keys for the Aggies. Defensively, I want them to create chaos on third down. Why? Because CJ Carr is young. Can he diagnose a defense right now? Is he ready to do that? I don't know. I don't think so. My guess is no, just from what I've seen from early first game, first year quarterbacks. Probably not. And even if he is, this is probably a good idea to be giving him and fronting him with to see if he can do it. Maybe he can't. We need to exploit it if possible. We for sure at least need to check it out and see. To do that, definitely need to make sure we're selling out on the run. I think we need to focus hard on the run. You got Love, you got Price, you got Carr. All of them can run. I think we need to focus on it. I think it's time to let our DBs settle and play cover. Des Ricks can do it. He's a guy that was woefully bad last year. Looks like he's made the necessary adjustments. We've heard about Will Lee. I'll say this, his last game was not what we've been hearing. So a couple break pumpers there. We will see if that was just a, hey, this is Utah State situation. Now how will we play against Notre Dame? Our secondary, same thing. Can we start making the tackles that we need to make? Okay. But for that, we got to know when to get into the box to stop that run. So I think we need to focus on this run hard and heavy. Okay. So limiting Notre Dame's ground game is a huge key for me. I've halfway mentioned staying focused. Now, what I mean by staying focused and what I really want to get to the heart of this to describe this issue, everybody knows what I'm talking about because we have these plays when we just completely go brain dead, right? Brain dead. What happened here on this play? How did we miss that tackle? You are the safety. You're not supposed to miss that tackle. You're supposed to save us from giving up a touchdown. We know those things. So, what do I mean by raise the floor and focus? Well, let's say A&M's ceiling is a 9. Let's say their floor is a 6 out of 10. Okay, I'd tell you that I'd probably take a 7.5 on every single play and that we could win this game playing that way. But I worry because if we're playing some plays at a 9 and other plays at a 6, those plays at a 6 are liable to be touchdowns. So how many plays can you play at a 6? 3 or 4 at most and probably still want to win and be able to win the game. You give up 3 or 4 touchdowns, very difficult to win the game, especially if they're on those kinds of plays. So you can't do that. We're playing at 7.5, something around there. You're probably, you could be giving up 20, 30-yard plays, but you're not giving up the big play. That was kind of what we saw a little bit last week, at least on the one play out of the half against Utah State. We didn't give up the huge play. We gave up the smaller play. Definitely going to have that. We need to have 7.5-point play rather than it be a 6. So I'd lower our ceiling if you tell me that, that would definitely bring our floor up so that we play with less volatility. Okay. So that's what I want. And that's a huge key for me if we're going to win this game. Playing at that 5 and 6 level at some points, can't do it. We can't be giving up big plays like that. Next, we need to use our weapons to distract. This is what they do to a degree. From what I've been able to see, I think we need to do this. We have weapons all over the field. We've got Casey, we've got Craver, elite speed, elite agility. We will see if Gray can man up on either one of this. If he can, he still would have to, they would still have to have somebody to get on Bussy or Bethel Roman, maybe the fastest guy on the team, and Ashton Bethel Roman. So, Irish, take note. We've got those 4 guys. Both of them are good. Ashton Bethel Roman has shown probably at this point to have the worst hands. I don't mean he's got bad hands. He just doesn't have the ones that KC have. KC and Craver, probably top 2 there. Craver has gone for 100 yards the first 2 games. KC has 5 touchdowns in the first 2 games. Bussy's got one of his own, and he's definitely coming on. He's dangerous. So watch out for both of them, KC and Craver. And then for distraction purposes, getting it to the ball to the other 2 while they are trying to man up on Craver and Casey, I think is a big deal. And if they can do all that, let's not forget we have Moss. And I am ready. This was my prediction that we would come out of the first 2 games thinking that we could pass, and then we'd come into this Notre Dame game and we'd establish that run. We have been so vanilla, I think, coming into this game. Okay. And I got a couple more X factors for you in this whole thing. So stay tuned. We got a little bit more to go. Lastly, Notre Dame, keys of the game. Stop the run, take away KC. You want to take away KC. If you can take away KC, see what you can do on the other guys, and then focus on our run, similar to what you did to us last year. I think you got a real good shot at winning this game. Okay? Win the turnover battle. You haven't done that yet. You need to fix that. If you fix that, and in this game, you're on the positive side of the turnovers, probably a win. You're a 6.5 point favorite. You probably win by that and plus some if you win the turnover battle, right? Control the ball and let us make the mistakes. I've told you about our identity. I've told you about what we are as a team, and we tend to make those mistakes at this point. So kind of play the Serena Williams game to a degree, right? Let your opponent make the mistakes. You play high quality game. You don't always go for the 10. You just play solid 8.5, football like Serena did. And then your opponents end up hitting the ball into the net. They hit it out. They make the mistake. Let them make the mistake. Let us make the mistake, and you got yourself a shot. Now, I will say this, because of our identity and because of what we do on that, I think all you need is 4 or 5 solid high-end plays. You come away with 4 to 5 solid high-end plays. Limit those busts. You had a couple of them against Miami, but you limit those and get you 4 or 5 solid plays. You are in this game, and I think you're ahead in the fourth quarter. So you're right there with it, got the opportunity to win it. You're at home. In that situation, probably a good chance that you win that game in that situation, right? So last key for y'all, I think, is for CJ Carr to play like he's got 1 year under his belt rather than 1 game under his belt. He's new. I think this is a big deal, though, in this. I think there's a lot to be said for the fact that y'all have had a bye week and we've had experience. We're a little bit more experienced team, and I will say, at least for this year, we've played 2 games. We've seen our mistakes be put on display, and we've got the opportunity to fix them. You've had 1 game. Yes, I know you fixed some things, but there's a little bit more value in doing it all again for the second time and having to go through and correct those again. You've had the bye week, and and Freeman echoes this as well. We've come out, I say, you see, at this point, I'm kind of taking on your identity. I almost said we've. the Irish have come out slow in the first half and second half so far. I'm a big believer that teams do come out kind of slow after the bye. You're going to need to come out and you're going to need to play quick. For that to happen, you're going to need CJ Carr to play like he's got at least a year under his belt. He needs more playbook. He needs more knowledge of what the defense is going to be. But I think, honestly, we've done a pretty good job of not exposing what that's really going to look like. And there's going to be a lot of new things that we're going to be putting into this game because he's an inexperienced quarterback. So that is kind of a lot of what I've got to say about our X factors. Y'all's bye week versus our experience. What's going to happen there? This is a revenge game. It has to be said, but this is also a playoff game. It's a playoff game for Notre Dame for sure. A&M can lose this and still make it. It'd be a long, tough road, but it's going to be really, really dim light at the end of the tunnel if Notre Dame loses this one as well. Because who else are they going to make a statement with? So a lot is at stake for this game. So my pick, I think A&M wins this game. I've got them 24-22. I think getting our bugs out of our system, the extra game, the Notre Dame tendency to start slow and now coming off of a bye, couple that with the idea that if this game comes down to a 2-minute drive, I'm going to ask you, 2-minute drive, who you got? You got CJ Carr or you got Marcel Reed? Marcel Reed showed us he can do the 2-minute drill against USC. He has upped his pass game this year. He has basically answered every single question this year that we have needed him to answer, except for one, which is some of the long ball. I'll take him as he is at this point. If it comes down to a 2-minute drill, which I think that it probably will, or it comes down to a special teams game, which right now our special teams is hitting on quite a few cylinders, I'm going to take A&M. I'm going to take A&M 24-22. I have Marcel Reed. I have the Aggies in a close one, winning at South Bend. So to quote Casey Concepcion to end this podcast, you feel me? Good night.